just in the early game rotations and the early game fights, Empire seem to trade pretty well, and they have the Bounty Hunter. So it can only really go one way, unless the Jugger gets very, very farmed. But the build he went for, the Drums Shadowblade, is not a farming build. You don't farm fast with it. There's no Mask of Madness in there. There's no Yasha. There is no potential Battle Fury, which is pretty unusual these days, but that would be another farming build. So he just can't keep up with the rate at which Lesh can farm with his just core build.
Do you think he needs a BKB as well to fight what Empire had?
Yeah, probably. So he can counter the static
there's
storm
too many
as well.
things that he needs, and he spends a lot of his gold into stuff that is like, you might not get your reward. Like, you get Shadowblade, but you might not get kills. It's a risk thing. So there's too much he had to go for, like BKB and the damage item, and even like what Sin mentioned, like he needs items that speeds up his farming as well. So there's too much that he needs to do in this game.
Right, just a lot relying on that Juggernaut too. When we talked about earlier, we were like, well, there's no real hard counter for the Lesh, and maybe the Juggernaut could try to fill that role because you can try to get through and you can deal with it. And then the Wraith King came out, so lots of back and forth there. We have another highlight. Again, Empire just playing really well, winning another fight. And overall, let's look at the other side now. Empire, of course, you got to give credit to them aside from just simply being able to pick Lesh, right? How did they look compared to the past 3 days?
It's difficult to say going against MVP Hot 6, right? They are the bottom team in the group. How much does this really show about their strength? I also just think, compared to games we've seen from MVP Hot 6, like their good games, this was not really one of their good games in terms of execution and communication. So it's hard to read too much into it. The important thing for them right now is that they obviously have got the first out of 2 wins.
Right.
And I would rather reserve that judgment for, should they win this after the outcome of the series they would then have against VP.
That would be a really telling moment. Have they really picked themselves up? Have they really improved or not? Dakota, what are your thoughts? I mean, Empire, of course, feeling really good after game 1.
Could not have given him much more, really. Giving him the Lesh, Silent. He's very comfortable playing Wraith King. We all know what Yoku could do on the Earthshaker. And as you said, they were able to kind of lead off with an early snowball. They get the track gold, and it just didn't look like there was much to stop Empire. I mean, Jug, if he's equipping items, he's hoping to get pickoffs, but they're kind of stuck and corralled back in their base playing a defensive position. You don't have the defensive items, you're going to get caught out, and many times they did. That track, sight, plus glimpse back, there was just no chance of retreat.
All right, so we've already cleared about Lesh. Probably going to want to ban it from the side of Hot 6, unless, of course, if they are for first pick, you can try to get it, of course. On the other side, do you think there's anything specific that Hot 6 is looking for, whether it's a certain hero to ban or pick, or a certain style they're like, all right, this is what also really knocked us off our balance against Empire in Game 1?
I think they would really like to play their Lina, but I don't know if they're getting it. Was that first phase banned by Empire this time, or was it actually in the pool?
I do not recall.
I feel like it was a second phase ban.
Oh,
actually, no. It wouldn't have been, because the second phase was Anti-Mage and then the Husker.
That's true.
Yeah.
I think it was first phase second banned by Empire.
It must have been the first, because I do believe it was banned.
They could look for that. They could look for the Naga, but realistically, I think Empire might just ban the same. Although, if the pick order is swapped, then maybe Empire feels like they have to ban Lesh, and then you would get either Naga or Lina.
That's true.
They did have the Quap this time, which I think is, of course, also a great pick in general, and it has worked out pretty well for Hot 6 in some of their games. But
they put a lot of priority into Bounty Hunter as well for Jarix, so they could also first pick up that.
Winter, what about you?
I think the picks is, in general, not the biggest issue like Hot 6 have. Like, giving up the Lash is one thing, but overall they're losing a lot of their games is because they are not executing and not playing as well as they could have, and making a lot of mistakes in general, like individual mistakes here and there. So I feel maybe just adjusting towards not giving Lash away, and the rest is more focused on their general play as a team and as an individual. Everyone has to do their job and get their lanes sorted out well. I mean, that's the most. That's the main thing I feel about Hot 6.
Okay, I mean, yeah, of course, also it's just one game left for both teams. You can't think too much into it. At this point, you just got to play your heart out, see where that goes. Again, for Hot 6, it doesn't change anything on paper, but at the same time, you want to leave a kind of lasting mark for other teams to look at and say, you don't want everyone to kind of scoff at you and be like, oh, they were bottom of Group B, and that's where they belonged because we saw those last games and they never really picked themselves up. Hot 6 wants to stand back up, but on the side of Empire, definitely much more on the line. They win this, They don't secure a spot in the upper bracket, but they have a chance to force VP, and I'm sure VP is sitting somewhere anxiously right now watching this match, wondering how their fate will be decided by Team Empire and MVP Hot 6. We do have that other game going on, CDEC versus eHome. Do we have an update on that by any chance?
Score is currently 15-6.
Okay.
For CDEC.
For
Yeah,
CDEC.
for CDEC.
Okay, so sounds like CDEC is having
CDEC
somewhat of a dominating control.
Definitely ahead on score, but looking at the net worths, it's not a lead that corresponds really to the kill lead. So
Okay.
I think I wouldn't count eHome out of it just yet. They also have both Naga and, well, they have the Naga, first off, sure to go late. But in addition to that, they also have Storm and Gyro. So actually with a pretty good set of cores here for them. So I could definitely see them taking it should go late. But the Naga is lowest net worth. It is position 5. So.
Okay. All right. Well, for those, if you guys are kind of interested in how eHome does, can they make it all the way to the top? They do need to win this one 2-0 also to go to first seed in Group B. You can head over to Stream 3 for that one. For us here, we are waiting on the second game between Empire and MVP Hot 6. And they are just about to go into it. Does this happen often? I mean, obviously, of course, it is thanks to kind of or a consequence rather, or result is the best word. Let me choose my words correctly. A result of the format that we have, that it's full round robin. We have the point system in a best of 2. That does allow for teams to always have to fight for something. But to the very end, I mean, we still have 2 teams that don't know whether they're going to be upper or lower bracket, let alone seeding within that. It's not too common, and even in this kind of format.
Are eHome not secured?
Well, eHome is secured, but
they're
for them,
fighting
it's
for
like,
placement.
do we get to pick our opponent or not? Like, that's a pretty big deal, too.
It's pretty unusual, I would say. There's always a lot of important games on the last day, but for the final 2 to each be very important. I believe previous years there's been like maybe one of the games that's been important, and the other one's just been like, just more or less just practice for the teams where nothing really was on the line.
But we do have a pretty unique case here where, and it also speaks to, again, I mean, the groups not being maybe too much far apart in terms of skill disparity. Overall, we were talking about earlier in the week, just the caliber of TI5 and how things definitely seem a lot closer, regardless of how it compares to the previous TIs in overall skill level. I mean, that's hard to tell because the game changes, the players change. But here we are, down to the very last game, and then potentially going to a tiebreaker between Empire and VP. We are in the draft, and things going down pretty quickly. Hot 6 does get to secure that Gyro, while Empire did indeed ban out the Lesh. Undying also banned out by Empire, and quite a few other things open. I mean, Quap is still open. Of course, Tusk and Dazzle.
Bounty Hunter, if they want to get that
Bounty Hunter is
for
still open
Jarix. Yeah.
Yeah. Empire, I mean, do you think they'll go for the Bounty Hunter again? I mean, that has served them well.
Yeah, I don't see why not. I think, excuse me, I think they might just go for Bounty plus Lina. It's a solid mid pick for Resolution, and it's also a deny pick against MVP Hot 6, who really like playing that on Forever, but I think MP also plays it pretty well. So,
on that note,
that'd be decent.
What about a Quap and Lina? Is that an option?
I mean, Lina and Quap are great against Gyro because he's a BKB dependent kind of a hero, and they have the hefty burst that could go through it. If Lina is able to put together an Agdams, can burst him down, and they get that Lina.
Damn.
There we go.
Look at this
last
guy.
Game kicking in.
This guy over here.
He knows what's up.
Well, that's
all right. Next pick.
Ooh,
here we go. Go for the hat trick.
The Bounty Hunter.
I would have chosen that too. I like your choice. That's good. Here we go.
Or Earthshaker, Dazzle. These are other good options.
Definitely quite a few other
options. And it's a Necrophos.
First
well, that would be quite a throw off.
No one would predict that. That would be like,
Yoki. Off lane still to be decided. A lot of off lane options still out there.
Yeah, I mean there are a lot of options just because of how the bans went through earlier. And
that would be another good guess. No Bounty though.
I mean, you talk about how Lina can be actually a counter towards the BKB Gyro, then there's Dazzle to solve that issue, right?
That's true.
To make sure the Gyro doesn't go down easily in fights. So
fair enough, and we've seen that happen.
This combination has been very successful in the tournament. Dazzle plus Gyrocopter in particular.
Yeah, definitely. We've seen it picked in Junction quite a few times. And then we will see that Shaker being taken away from Empire.
That means Tusk got through the first phase, and I'm wondering if it's a pick that Empire will consider that they should get third, just also again as a block pick, so if you don't get it for Jarex. They did counter in the last game, but I still think it's one of the best picks that they can get for Jarex is both I guess they get probably one of Bounty Hunter and Tusk, unless one gets banned and picked now by Empire.
Yeah, Bounty, Tusk, and Lion are like the big 3 supports I see Jarex play. Allows him to get very aggressive. He loves to do that, get in their face. This is an Earth Spirit pro, after all. This guy knows how to find the kills and be ruthless. So, if he gets the option to do so,
you know what I would like to see? I would like to see Jarex play Mirage, because he really has an eye for roaming and for seeing movements on the map. It's a hero we actually haven't seen picked yet.
Yeah.
Which is kind of ridiculous when you think about how big a pick. Like, it's been up and down, but Mirana has kind of always been like a Dota 2 stable that there is no tournament that goes by without at least it showing up like once or twice, either as most of the time as a roaming support, but we've seen it in off-lane position, we've seen it carry, and even on rare occasions in mid. But 0 picks of Mirana in the group stage. I would not have guessed that going in.
Yeah, and we've discussed the possibility of Mirana in countless drafts where, this would fit well. Mirana could do well here with those picks, but not coming through just yet. Option is still open here for Hot 6 and Empire. We were discussing whether Empire takes the Tusk or not. They chose to ban the TA and then take the Tusk for themselves. So the Bounty Hunter is still available for Hot 6. Now if they go for the Bounty Hunter...
But according to history, since there's no Undying, they're probably going to just secure the Clockwork for their offlane player, since he only plays one of the 2. And Undying is already banned, so...
I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, I haven't seen him play any other hero in the whole tournament except those 2 heroes.
Clock Undying?
Yeah, Clock and Undying.
Well, it's also the last game, so maybe this is where they say, well, it also doesn't change anything for us on paper. We've been practicing this. We kind of didn't want to show it until brackets, but hey, let's try it, see how it fares, and then we can adjust from there. That's also an option right now for Hot 6 on how they look at this match. Taking a lot of time.
Yep. As a matter of fact, they will now go below 1 minute of bonus time. I feel like they just have to play aggressively, like no matter what they do. If they don't try to take initiative against Empire, I think Empire will just be controlling the map. They will just aggress them all over the place, and in my opinion, MVP Hot 6's strength as a team is not those really clutch defensive plays that we would expect out of, for example, a team like EG. So, much rather see some initiative. They're going to get the Rubik. So, what good spell steals are there? There's
lots of them.
There's Blink. Snowball is really good. Ice Shards is a great spell too.
Laguna.
Pretty much anything Lina has, it's decent. And
yeah,
of course, Walrus Punch. I think we haven't seen that stolen yet, and it's a very fun spell steal. It has like its own little. So the Walrus Punch is called Walrus Punch, obviously, when you attack it. I think it's the only ability in the game that has like text on the screen when you attack. And when Rubik steals it and he attacks with it, it's called Sucker Punch. I do believe, right? Or am I imagining things? I'm pretty sure it's called
I have not seen that.
Or does it say Stolen Punch or Sucker Punch? It has its own text.
Right.
I can't remember.
But one way or the other, are pretty fun skill overall to steal. And if you can get that, obviously it's satisfying.
Yeah. Maybe getting the Rubik ahead of time so the other team can't get it for the Clockwork that they want to grab up.
Yeah. Hello Advance, also a very
take it away from them. Yeah.
Very added.
I mean, it also makes their lane strong. Rubik plus Gyro lane. It's very few off-lane heroes that can actually stand up in that lane itself.
Okay.
Oh yeah, never mind. You can't steal Walrus Punch anymore. Because it's not a spell cast, now it's just an attack. Right?
Oh,
since it got changed so that you don't pre-cast it and then hit, but you just auto-hit when you toggle it, it's not stealable anymore. Because it's like, it's kind of an orb